Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody, from Jeremy and JP out on Nonsuch Island, Bermuda. This is our Easter weekend Cahow check. We're looking for our own little bunnies in the nest here, and it's actually Saturday, the 16th of April right now. Some of the older Cahow chicks are reaching the half-fledged stage, so they're about a month and a half old now. Some of them have gone just a little bit past that. So we're seeing them in a wide range of sizes and shapes and colors and everything else. And they are quite individualistic. You might think they look the same, but they're not. Generally, so far, the birds seem to have been having very good feeding visits by the adults. The adults seem to be finding lots of food out there. And that may have something to do with the fact that it's just been an uncommonly windy first part of the year here, the first quarter or first third of the year. It's been not a lot of very strong gales, but just generally wind speeds have been just constantly, high and making it very rough, making it very difficult for me to go out to the smaller nesting islands and such. And thank goodness for Nonsuch, because it's relatively easy to land on this island, and the birds are much safer on this island from flooding or submergence during big storms. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at all of the chicks at the A colony in Nonsuch. There are two colonies, A and B. There are presently a record number of 11 chicks in residence at the A colony here, where the two CahowCam chicks are. That's their local neighborhood. And B colony has 5 chicks, and we've never produced more than 2 chicks from that colony before. That colony is growing every year now. There's 1 or 2 new pairs every single year. A lot of the chicks that have already fledged from these nests are starting to return now, well over a dozen. I think it's about 14 or 15 so far. So they're also coming back, so the colony is increasingly self-sustaining now. So I'm really excited to see what our little our little bunnies look like. They are the closest thing to bunny rabbits, Easter bunnies, without the ears, of course. They're certainly soft and fluffy, and they're not the little tiny things that they used to be. They've become, even for one of the younger chicks here, this is from nest number R823. This is one of the younger chicks. He's quite fat and heavy, this one, so I can tell he's just received a feeding visit in the last couple of nights, either last night or the night before. He was one of the last ones to hatch, but he's a lovely little bird, and this is the very first chick from this new nesting pair, this breeding pair. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 or 7 pairs on Nonsuch which are first-time parents. These are the first chicks that they've produced so far as breeding pairs. And you can see the wings are also getting lovely and long now, and you can see the sheaths that the actual feathers will be emerging from. This one, it's a little too young for the feathers. You can see a tiny bit maybe coming out, but in the next week or two, you'll see the actual primary feathers and flight feathers coming out of those sheaths, almost like they're being pushed out of straws. And all they are is highly modified scales, because as I've said many times, birds are in fact reptiles. In fact, they are dinosaurs, real-life dinosaurs, a family of them that did not die out, because they have the huge advantage of being able to fly and find far separated sources of food. It gives birds just a huge survival advantage. So yeah, he's definitely been fed. The last time I weighed this chick, it was like 195 grams. It is now over 300 grams. It is, let's see, minus the weight of the bag, 304 grams. So for a young chick, that's extremely good. 304. Wow. No complaints there whatsoever. Okay, well, this is the R821 nest. In comparison to our last one, this is from a fairly experienced pair. It's a nest that's always alive with cockroaches. And this chick was also the very first one to hatch on Nonsuch. So it's the oldest chick, just a bit older than the CahowCam 1 nest, but he's not being fed quite as well, so he's not quite as big. He's not quite as heavy too, and I can tell he's fairly heavy for, you know, for his size, but the CahowCam 1 chick is just much heavier. You can see his feet are now essentially fully developed, these big webbed feet that they have, and the wings are also, you can see the primary feathers starting to emerge from the feather sheaths. Yep, there they are. And the little pin feathers coming out of, you know, the sheaths look like straws, and from the end are these, what will eventually be, you know, 6 or 7 inch long primary feathers are emerging. And these are the main flight feathers that give lift. So, when they are flying. So, let's see. Yeah, and you can see this. Even though it's at least 3 weeks older than the last chick, it's almost exactly the same weight, just over 300 grams. It's 305, so it's 1 gram more. 305 grams, but that's a good weight. That's a nice, healthy weight. Okay, so our third chick is from the R816 nest, R816, and this is from another very successful pair, at least. And here's another one that's very, you can see he's really well developed. His wings are really getting pretty long, and the feathers are emerging, the primary and secondary feathers, and some of the coverts are emerging from the sheaths. He's quite heavy. He feels like he's been fed. That's from another very successful pair. At least 3 of the chicks produced by this nest have returned. All of them to Nonsuch, actually. I was checking my records the other night, and all 3 of them are in new nests in this colony. So this is a pair that's almost you know, repopulating Nonsuch by itself. You know, it's just amazingly successful. It just produces real survivors, and it's also the heaviest chick so far. Let's see, 360, so that's 340 grams. Yeah, and that's a bird. It certainly feels like it was fed last night. So 340. Okay, so moving on to our fourth A colony Nonsuch nest, is 820, R820 nest. And this chick is really growing well. Comes from a fairly aggressive set of parents, so he can bite, although it's not really painful yet, but he will be by the time he's fully fledged. And he's growing well. You know, he feels like he was fed like maybe 2 or 3 nights ago, so he's been getting fairly frequent feeding visits. Certainly not a record bird, but his you know, parents are doing a good job of raising it and feeding it. So, just see what it weighs. And it's just under 300 grams. It's like 303, so 283 grams. Okay, so this is the R830 nest. Now this is one of the younger chicks, one of the last ones to hatch on Nonsuch, and unlike some of the other ones, which are already about 6 or 7 weeks old, this one's just over a month old, but the parents have been doing a pretty good job, so he's been growing well, and he so far has been you know, quite, whoops, sorry, ouch, 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 ouch. He's also quite heavy, so he's been fed in just the last night or 2. Yeah, and he's also got quite an aggressive nature to him. He's not really painful yet, well, maybe starting to, but you can see how much smaller he is compared to the other birds. He's still quite a little thing. But yeah, he feels like it's a good weight. So just trying to get some of the nest material back in. So let's see how much you are, little guy. I'll tell you, it might be a small bird, but he's a bit of a spitfire, I'll tell you. almost broke the skin, but not quite. Yeah, see, and it's reflected. Here's a good weight for his size. Let's see, 247, so 227 grams. Yeah, so that's, I have no complaints about that. No concerns, 227. Okay, so we're here now at the R840 nest, and this is another one of our first-time parents. This is the first chick this pair has ever produced. They've nested, this is their second year nesting, but the first year that the egg is hatched. And this is another one. They're doing a really good job, and this chick feels like it's quite small still, because it was another late hatching chick, but it feels very heavy. It feels like it was fed, if not last night, then the night before. So it's another case of a brand new pair with no experience really taking good care of the chick, and you know, giving it plenty of feeding visits, and that's a sign that they're going to be a good pair. So that's a very good thing. Most of the new pairs that have chicks for the first time are doing an exceptional job, and so that bodes well for the future of the colony. Yeah, for a small bird again, it's quite heavy. Let's see, 280, 286, so 266 grams. Yeah, that's very good. Okay, so moving on to the next nest. This is nest number R839. And this is a pair that's been nesting for about 4 years now, and they've produced I think 2 previous chicks, so this is their third one. So, and they seem to also produce good, healthy chicks that they take care of. And this was another fairly late nesting one, late hatching one, and so this one's probably about 5 weeks old now. And he doesn't feel like it's been fed in the last couple of nights. So last time was probably 3 or 4 nights ago. So he's about due for another feeding tonight. But he feels at a healthy weight, but he's just not like a overstuffed grape at this point, like some of the freshly fed ones do. Yeah, and he's still nearly 250 grams. Let's see, 260. So that's 242 grams. Okay, moving on. Now this is our other really big chick. This is the only one that's sort of been giving some competition to our CahowCam 1 chick. This is from R836, and this in fact is from what we call our Genesis bird. This was one of the very first pairs that started nesting. This is the 11th consecutive chick from this pair, and he feels pretty heavy. You can see how much bigger he is than some of the last chicks that we've been measuring. He's really getting almost to full size, and this bird is half-fledged. You know, he's about 6 to 7 weeks old now, so about 45 to 48 days more or less. So you know, he's doing really well. He's getting to the point where even with the larger bags I'm using now, it's getting a bit difficult to be able to stuff in here. Come on. You know, you want to do it as gently as possible so they don't get flustered and everything, because, you know, they're getting used to this, and generally the older ones are you know, just relaxing now, and so they're not struggling, and it's just easier to do it. Yeah, he hasn't been fed actually for a little bit, I don't think. He's just heavy because he's big right now. He's over 300 grams. Let's see. Is just over 303 grams. Okay. He has been as heavy as nearly 400 grams, so it's probably overdue for a feeding visit. I wouldn't be surprised if it's tonight. Okay, so this is the last chick to do before the 2 CahowCam chicks, and this is number 842 nest, and this is from one of the older Australian design plastic nests, different from the concrete ones which we're used to. This is the third first time parent chick, and you can hear he's quite a noisy little thing. This is the first year that this pair has attempted to nest, and on their very first outing they have produced a very healthy chick who again was quite late hatching. He was one of the last ones to hatch, but he is quite heavy for his size. They've been feeding him really well, and so again, I'm really happy, and I'm very impressed with the you know, the new sort of year of young adult parents taking care of them. All three of them here are taking very good care of their chicks, and this one is actually, for his size, he's one of the healthier ones. He's really, again, this is a chick that should be, for his age, about 200 grams or so, just breaking 200, and in fact he is exactly 250 grams, so it's like 50 grams higher than average for a chick of this age. Okay, so now we've finally gotten to we've checked out 9 chicks here at the Nonsuch A colony, and we've saved the 2 CahowCam chicks for last, and we're going to do a complete health check. We're going to check weight, wing cord, and the bill length on this. Now, the first one I'm going to do is CahowCam 1. This is from the R831 nest, and this chick actually is probably the biggest one in the colony. His half-fledged now, is about 47 days old, more or less, and he has been getting fed a ridiculous amount by both parents. Both the male and female birds have been really doing a good, outstanding job of feeding this bird, and it's reflected that his size is almost cantaloupe size. His wings are getting really long, and you can see these pin feathers now, the primary, secondaries, coverts, they're all really emerging well now from the from the sheaths and such. I'm really happy with that. He's looking good. His bill is getting there. His feet are already, his legs are full size, and from the half-fledged stage, his legs are almost as big as they're going to be. I would be able to band this bird at any point from now forward. I'm going to probably save that for another week or two, perhaps when we give our official names to this year's CahowCam chicks. And we're also going to do something very unique. We're going to fit a large number of this year's chicks with GLS tags for the first time. And these are tags that are only about 1.1 grams. They're tiny. They're the size of my little fingernail, more or less. There's a tiny zip tie that attaches, and they can record and archive position data for up to nearly 3 years. It's for 32 months, I believe, they can give. So he's just at the point now, it's hard to get. These are the biggest bags I have, and he barely fits in them. You just have to carefully do it. You don't want to rough them up because you want them to be nice and calm. My goal is to stress the birds as the least amount possible, because then it's better for them, it's better for me. 3 days ago I measured this bird, and he was 416 grams, and he's been fed once in the last 3 days, but I think he peaked then, and he is very close to, well, actually he's still over 400. Not quite as heavy as he was, but okay, if you stop bouncing, mate, let's see, 404 grams, when I subtract the weight of the bag. It was 424, so it's 404 grams. So that's pretty amazing. Let me just record that. So he is the first of the Nonsuch birds to exceed 400 grams this year. Now, if I can find his wings, where are you, mate? They tend to turn themselves around. They become much more mobile, and so they do all sorts of twisting and turning in the bag. Now, I'm going to measure these. I predict that these wings are the wing cord, the outer wing length is probably 120 millimeters or more, and it's exactly the same as the R836 chick. It's 20 millimeters exactly, 120 millimeters. Now, just to put that in perspective, that's where it is now. The first one we did, it was like 18 millimeters, so it's growing that much. By the time it's ready to fledge in another month and a half, it will go all the way to about here, to about 275 millimeters. So from here to here in about another 6 weeks, you know. So it'll be growing at up to a centimeter every 2 days in the final month of development. Okay, so last but not least, just going to try and pop his head out. Yep, there we go. And I'm going to try and check his bill length, or her bill length. We don't really know yet, but at first I really thought this might be a female bird, and it knows too. They hate this. It knows, but its bill's been getting progressively bigger. Okay, here we go. It's actually 27.1 millimeter. So an adult one is often like anywhere from 28 to 31 millimeters. So 27.1. So that's quite long for a half-fledged chick. So maybe this is in fact not a female at all, but a male. So, and we can see it's using the wings more and more for balance and movement and pushing itself around and such. Right now, it just wants to get out of my hands. It's at that stage now where it's very independent. You can see those great big webbed feet underneath there. This bird has quite a bit of white on its underbelly as well. You can see those great big feet there, and it's a little, it's a little sort of, like this isn't very, very comfortable for me, so I'm just going to try. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this bird is developing. It's exceptionally healthy, exceptionally fast growing. Both parents are doing what they should be doing. They seem to be finding plenty of food. The male is making more feeding visits, but he seems to be feeding the chick a little less, so I think he's concentrating on shorter feeding trips. The neat thing is both parents were fitted with GPS tags, so we already know where the male's gone, and we're waiting to see where the female has gone. We think the female is going much further, perhaps up to 12 or 1,500 miles from Bermuda to the northeast to the central Atlantic. The male seems to be going straight north, close to the Nova Scotia continental shelf edge. About 450 to 800 miles north. The female seems to be going further than that. So when we get those results, we will try and let you know what they are. Okay, so everything looks good with the CahowCam 1 bird, and we're going to put him back in his nest right now. Yep. Put a few more bits of grass for it to play around. I'd much rather them use grass than leaves. Leaves always seem to get kicked up in front of the camera. Okay, good. Okay. All right, so this is our CahowCam 2 chick from the R832 nest, and it's quite a bit smaller than CahowCam 1, but he is, after all, over 2 weeks younger, and this is the difference that 2 weeks make. But he's also got a good weight. He's got two very good, beautiful parents that have been feeding him very regularly. Both the female seems to be making more visits. It's sort of almost the opposite of the CahowCam 1 nest. The male is making less visits, longer, but seems to be feeding the chick more. So, and the female still, despite that foot injury that she had, quite a traumatic foot injury, still seems it doesn't inhibit her at all. And this is the third chick she's raised since that injury, so it really doesn't seem to have slowed her down much, if at all. So his gang is a good weight. It's about the same. Let's see, I think the last time he was fed was 2 nights ago. He is at 260. Yeah, it's getting difficult to weigh them because it's getting windier and windier out here. Looks like 242 grams. So 242 grams. Good. Check its wing cord. Now, the wing cord from CahowCam 1 chick was 120 millimeters. So this one, you can see the difference. Wow. It is 62 millimeters. So about half, just over half the length. And that's the difference 2 weeks makes, 2.5 weeks. They really do go through quite a growth spurt, in that period. And he's just really starting that. Now, while he's calm, I'm going to try and do this without grabbing his bill at all. Yeah, look at that. And it's 24.1. 24.1. Okay. So, CahowCam 1 was 404 grams. CahowCam 2 chick is 242 grams. CahowCam 1 was 120 millimeter wing cord. This one is 62 millimeters. And CahowCam 1 was 27.1 millimeter bill length. This one is 24.1. So yeah, that just shows, the difference. Two birds, one considerably younger than the other. Both of them being fed well, both of them developing very quickly. So, and this bird is this is a much calmer bird than CahowCam 1 too. CahowCam 1 is quite a, agitated bird. He doesn't like the wind at all. This one just seems more curious than anything else. And it's just a lovely, calm bird, just like the parents. The parents are, again, a very calm, pair, no drama. They just get on with breeding. The CahowCam 1 parents always seem to have lots of drama, and they almost fight over possession of the egg and the chick and everything else. So, very individualistic personalities, just like people. So for those people that don't believe that animals have feelings and personalities and higher thought processes, well, I say that you've never worked with animals before, because when you work with them, you realize they have all those things and more. So fascinating. Still learning new things every year that we work with these, wonderful, unique, and very impressive little creatures. So one of the rarest seabirds on Earth. Fitting, these are Bermuda's Easter bunnies, I guess you could say. They don't have the big ears. Mind you, there is that rare race of cabots that we have, which is, I don't know, that sounds like a mad scientist experiment gone wrong somehow. But you must admit, it is a cute little bunny, isn't it? And this is our own Easter bunny, Bermuda's national bird, and a species that is recovering from the brink of extinction, and up to 155 breeding pairs this year, from 17 pairs when they were rediscovered, and management began in the early 1960s. So they're a species bouncing back. Okay, so for all of us, from JP, myself, and all of our extended Cahow family here on Nonsuch Island, we wish everybody a happy Easter. We hope you have a great weekend. We hope that this Easter, that sanity will prevail in the world, and all of the wars and problems happening here, people will come to their senses and help to resolve these issues and such. And we hope this brings you a little bit of peace for your Easter weekend. All the best from us all on Nonsuch Island, Bermuda.